Welcome to rounds 9 and 10 of the Moils Toyota MR2 Championship from Anglesey. Since we last saw them at Croft, the MR2s have been in action at Cadwell Park, where the competitors were split into 3 groups, each racing twice. Jim Davis was the first winner from Mick Nichols and Mark Barber, but returning star Ulrich Kitson took the other 2, with Tim Heron and Chris White also on the podium. Despite 2 7th place finishes in Lincolnshire, Sean Traynor arrives in Wales with a near 50-point lead. Ready to go then for the first of the 2 races today here at Anglesey, and on pole position for this one it's Martin Farrelly, and alongside him in the first of the Roadsters is William Gallagher. Second row is Sean Traynor and Stuart Nichols. We go on board with Maxine Nichols though. She is on row 12 of the grid as the race gets underway. Martin Farr here you can see in the bright blue, yellow and red car up ahead of us. Maxine's position there under threat, I think, from number 18, Andy Winterton, as she went through turn number 1. But the best of the starts looks to have been made by Sean Traynor, the championship leader from the second row of the grid. He was leading through the banking for the first time. Back on board we go with Maxine now in her Roadster. Maxine, of course, races alongside her father Mick, who had a couple of good results at Cadwell Park, and brother Stuart. There's the top 2 then, and it is Traynor that's leading from the pole position man, Martin Farrelly, his best qualifying session that I can remember, and also the front row man William Gallagher. He has dropped back down to 3rd place. Looks like 4th is going the way of Mark Barber at the moment in the white car with the blue stripe. And then the 5th place car, well, that's not Alex Knight as you would normally expect to see in that car. It is in fact Jim Davis, who's had to borrow that car for the weekend. Alex not here. Jim's own car, well, not really available for racing after some problems in testing yesterday, so Jim qualified 5th. He's running in 5th place at the moment. We go on board with Chris White here, qualified a little bit further down than you might have expected, in 10th place. One car we could see going wide up ahead of him through the corkscrew, but through they come at the end of the first lap then, and it is Sean Traynor and Martin Farrelly, 2 drivers with Irish blood in them, going nose to tail for the lead, and Gallagher in the number 83 car is in 3rd position. This a circuit where the Roadsters ought to be able to go pretty well. Lots of twisty bits which will favour the lighter and more nimble but less powerful Mark 3 cars, whereas the heavier and more powerful Mark 2s, well, they might struggle a little bit through the corners, although they'll be better on the back stretch. We're on board here with Stuart Nichols. Now, he qualified on the 2nd row of the grid. He came through 6th at the end of lap 1, so not the best of first laps for the 36-year-old from Ware, the TV cameraman and Back to the Future fan. Did some karting before he started racing in the MR2s back in 2010 now. Is Sean Traynor that leads the way though, the 44-year-old from Winchester. A steel erector by occupation in his 2nd year of racing now. He was the top rookie last year, and he's converted that form into a championship lead by quite a convincing margin this year, even though Cadwell Park, by his own admission, was one he'd rather put behind him. Here's Stuart, well, he's still in 6th place. Up ahead of him is the number 11 car at the moment of Jim Davis, who has been racing against for a good few years now. Stuart comes through to complete his 2nd lap. There's Mark Barber, number 22, had a podium finish at Cadwell Park, did Mark Barber, and he, coming into this weekend, lies 6th in the championship. Sean Traynor it is that leads the way from Alex Knight, who's not here. Christian White, who is here but is a bit further back down the order, and likewise Tim Heron, also qualified further back than he would have liked, in 8th position, so he's got work to do. Watching from William Gallagher's car here, up ahead we can see the top 2 just stretching away really. That's Sean Traynor and Martin Farrelly, and Mark Barber there getting through into 3rd place as well. Well, that is where the Mark 2s have the advantage there at that part of the circuit, but on the brakes maybe William Gallagher can fight back. No, he can't, not for the moment at least. Meanwhile, Farrelly goes through on the inside of Sean Traynor there. Is he going to be able to hold the inside line for Peel as well? Are we going to have a change of lead? It looks like we might do, but we're just looking at the battle for 3rd at the moment, and yes, he's done it, because Sean Traynor went quite wide there at Peel Corner. Farrelly's taken the lead, but it's all happening behind him as well. Great racing this in the Moils Toyota MR2 Championship. Back on board with Gallagher, he's just lost out to Barber. Can he fight his way back through? End of the lap then. He's right under threat as well from Jim Davis as well, and Stuart Nichols is not too far behind either. But it's number 10, Martin Farrelly, that now has the lead of the race. Only his second meeting of the season so far, I think. As Barber makes a mistake, does he hold on to third place as he arrives at the banking? Yes, I think he does, despite that slightly bouncy moment. But it's Farrelly, the 43-year-old IT Services sales manager from Fleet in Hampshire, that leads his third season of racing in the MR2s now, and again is in one of the Rogue Motorsport cars, as this weekend is Jim Davis there, and he now is trying to find a way past William Gallagher, and I think he's done it. So a similar situation to what happened on the previous lap for William Gallagher, but again he tries to outbrake the MR2 Mark IIs going into Rocket, and again he narrowly fails to do so. So Gallagher back down to 5th position. It's a car that has the speed around the lap, but not necessarily at the key part of the circuit where all the overtaking happens into Rocket Corner. So Gallagher gradually slipping back down the order. It was as high as we'd ever seen him, I think, up on the front row of the grid, certainly. So they've been happy with how qualifying went, but he'll try and fight back yet again as they come back down through the corkscrew. White and red car then of Jim Davis, the car normally driven by Alex Knight, just up ahead in 4th place now, as they come through to complete lap number 4. Stuart Nichols, you can see, still there in 6th place. Then it looks like Nigel Ralphson is there in 7th position, and just behind him is the number 8 car of Tim Heron, the software developer, and his 1993 vintage car. He's now in his 4th season of racing. Used to do some speed events as well, did Tim Heron. He is running in 8th place. Gallagher not giving up on his fight with Jim Davis there. Jim, of course, used to race a Roadster like that of Gallagher, but having switched at the back end of last season into a Mark II. Farrelly, Trainer, Barber, Davis, Gallagher and Nichols, your top 6 here at Anglesey. And really, it's still 8 cars for the lead as Trainer goes back through on the inside of the number 10 car of Farrelly and gets the lead back then. Well, Farrelly's had that lead for what, about 5 laps now, but now Sean Trainer finds his way back through. But I can't remember an MR2 race where we've had 8 cars still together in the lead battle at this stage in the race. Absolutely fantastic stuff here. Sean Trainer it is that's back in front, and he's the championship leader by what appears to be a dominant margin, but he's certainly not dominant over the rest of the field in this race. The times, they're really tight as well. In fact, the best lap of the race so far has gone to Jim Davis on a 1:22.70. The lap record for these cars is actually a 1 minute 21.15, set more than 6 years ago by Zach Chapman, former champion in the MR2s. We're going to see that lap record go this weekend. I rather suspect not, judging how far they're away from it now, nearly a 1.5 seconds away from that mark at the moment, but it's not what matters, it's the closeness of the racing that matters, and this is an absolutely fantastic advert for the Millers Oils Toyota MR2 Championship. I see that Ralphson and Heron in 7th and 8th have just dropped back a little bit. Then the 9th car coming through there is number 26 in that very nicely turned out car by Paul Cook. Up to the left-hander they go, at the top of the hill, and to the right-handed element of Rocket, turning their way through the right-hander, then this short straight towards another slow right-hander at Peel, on board there with Barber, but look how close it is between the top 3. And Farrelly, who led for the middle chunk of this race, well, there's no guarantee here that he's going to get a podium out of this even. Absolutely fantastic racing in the MR2s this weekend at Anglesey. Rounds 9 and 10, as we say, still 6 more races to go after this weekend. And if they're all going to be like this, then we've certainly got something to look forward to, although Sean Trainer is going to take some catching. He's had a very strong start to the season, a number of wins in the first part of the year, as Farrelly gets a quick crust up there coming into the banking. 5 wins from the first 6 races and 5 from the first 8 for Sean Trainer, and the rest of the wins have been spread around a little bit. No one's mounted a really serious attack to Sean Trainer this season, of course, with 2 wins last time out for Ulrich Kitson, who's not doing the full season. That's taking points away from potential challengers as well. Now this is a bit late on the brakes. My word. He's somehow managed to stay on the track, but Gallagher's got back through, and there's a bit of a touch from Stuart Nichols, whose hand is in the air to apologise. It's not what Stuart intended at all. Let's have a look at the replay. So we're on board here with Gallagher, heading up towards Rocket Corner. Now Stuart Nichols is going to appear to our left at a great rate of knots. Goes wide too deep into the corner, then as he tries to get himself sorted out, just tags the back of Gallagher's car, and that's enough to send him spinning around, and you can see he's head on into the traffic there as the likes of Paul Cook and Simon Wallace come through. Split the pack up a little bit, and Gallagher, there you can see on the replay, that was him spinning. Heron had to go off in avoiding action. Back marker there being lapped is the number 50 car of Andrew Strange in his Roadster. The leaders onto their final lap, and Sean Traynor now has just got enough of a gap over the rest. Traynor turning his way through Rocket for the final time. First 4 cars together, all of the white base coloured cars with stripes of varying hues and direction. Strange there keeping well out of the way of the leading contenders. It must be said he is off the pace a little bit of the rest of the field, so he's letting them continue with their race without interrupting their battles, which is good driving from him. Now Jim Davis here is making a late bid for a podium position. Has he made it work? No, he has not. So coming through to complete the race, it's going to be Sean Traynor that takes his 6th win of the season in the Miller's Oils Toyota MR2 Championship from Martin Fowley in 2nd, and Mark Barber clings on to 3rd place there. Pop-up of the headlamps for Sean Traynor, who is very pleased indeed to be back to winning ways here at Anglesey. Let's have a look at those results then. Sean Traynor taking the win by just over a second from Martin Fowley. Mark Barber 3rd and Jim Davis 4th. Jim having to share his fastest lap in the end with Sean Traynor, who matched it a few laps later. Stuart Nichols 1:22.77, fastest lap in Class C, as he took 8th place overall behind Paul Cook. Christian White and Simon Wallace rounded out the top 10. Okay, Sean, well done, congratulations. What a brilliant MR2 race that was.
It was, yeah, very, very hard. The two stood behind you at the moment made it hard. I don't know the fastest lap yet, but I won't be surprised if Mark's got it. He was very, very fast. So I'm just happy to come out on top, really. It could have gone any of 3 ways, I think, in the end. Yeah,
I mean, there was loads of lead changes, wasn't there? Yeah. It seemed to me that you twice sort of took places going up into Rocket. You're quite late on the brakes there, it looked to me.
Yeah, I think that's sort of, Martin sort of had the legs on me around the top end. It's he was sort of the corner and up through the corners, he was quicker, so I thought I had to make the most of that last lunge.
Okay, Martin, 2nd place, but so close to winning. It was a really great race between you and Sean.
It was tooth and nail all the way. He was faster in some areas, I was faster in others. I fluffed up my start, which didn't help, so I missed the gear, and that gave him the inside. I tried to cover it, which is why my wind mirror got taken off. But then it was just nip and tuck, and by the end, it was just all I could do then to keep Mark Barber behind, because he was coming up really quickly, and I thought I'll solidify 2nd. But it's my first pole position today, and my first podium, so I'm absolutely chuffed.
Okay, Mark, well, you were right in the thick of the scrap there, weren't you? There was 8 cars in a small group, or a big group for the lead, but you managed to take 3rd, fend off Jim, but just couldn't quite get Martin.
Yeah, after qualifying, looking at the top 6, they were same times basically, so it was always going to be a tight race, that one. A good start, so got a few people off the start, and then I'm pretty sure I had the legs on these guys, but just could not make it stick. And then Jim behind me, so having to defend at the same time, very difficult race, but a lot of fun, and happy with that result.
Second race of the weekend for the Miller's Oils Toyota MR2 Championship. The grid set by the fastest lap in race 1. So it's Davis and Traynor on the front of the grid as the race gets underway. Up ahead of us is Wayne Lewis. We're on board with Tim. Oh, what a bit of a touch there for Wayne Lewis. That might have been from Paul Cook, was it, as he made his way through? But Wayne Lewis, a big moment for him there, I'm afraid. I think it's delayed Tim Heron as well, who started this race on row 6 of the grid, so even further back than he started race 1. Actually, he's losing places here as they go through the banking for the first time. It's the Jim Davis car that looks to be in the lead. Then Sean Traynor second, I think, as they make their way through Church and up towards School for the first time. Back on board here with Martin Farrelly. Now he started on row 4 of the grid, despite finishing second in race 1. The good for race 2, determined, as I say, by the fastest laps in race 1. And so the order fairly well shuffled, which is going to make for a very interesting second race of the day here at Anglesey. Close moment there as they rounded the right-hander at Rocket. William Gallagher there, I can see he is making up a place. He started on the 3rd row of the grid, so not only did we have a shuffled grid, it's been a fairly hectic opening lap of the race as well. That's Nigel Ralphson, number 85, the traffic policeman, just behind Martin Farrelly, who finished second in the earlier race. We're on board here with Chris White. Now he started back on row number 8, despite finishing 9th in race 1. So over the line they go to complete the first lap, and actually it's Sean Traynor that goes through in the lead at the end of lap 1. So Jim Davis led briefly, but it's Sean Traynor that is now ahead as this field of cars streams through. 25 cars taking the start of this race. We go on board with Christian White here, number 4, and he came through in 14th at the end of the first lap, so he did make up a place. He's behind there the number 40 car of Lewis Ward, who is a newcomer this season to the MR2 Championship in the ex-Matthew Wallace car. There in the top 2 then. Traynor it is from Jim Davis in second place. They've already pulled out a bit of a gap over the rest, a bigger gap than we saw in the earlier race. Davis goes in too deep there. Well, that's going to compromise him. It's going to put his second place under jeopardy, I think. Mark Barber is snapping at his heels now. Stuart Nichols there in 4th place, so he's having a better run in this, the second race of the weekend. And just behind him is number 43, Darren Aldworth, who started the race 6th on the grid, although he finished in 12th place in race 1. So it just goes to show that fastest lap times and race finishing positions, well, they don't necessarily correlate completely. Aldworth benefiting from that and having a good start here, up into 5th place ahead of Ralphson. Then it's Gallagher. Farrelly's dropped back another place or 2. Then it looks like Paul Cook, number 26. You can see him in the very nicely turned out white, grey and green car just ahead of number 8 Tim Heron. Those are the last 2 cars in the top 10 as they come through to complete the lap. Well, Sean Traynor stretching his legs a bit from Jim Davis now in the lead of the race. Let's hope, from the point of view of entertainment value, that he doesn't run off into the distance. As running wide there goes number 85, Nigel Ralphson, kicking up the dust as he went over the grass. It's done in the power of no good though, because it's let William Gallagher go back through. It also leaves the opportunity for Martin Farrelly to go through as well. But again, this is what we saw in race 1. On this back stretch, the Mark IIs can just drive away really from William Gallagher. That's what Ralphson has done. So despite that off, he's got back ahead, and now Farrelly trying to go around the outside of Gallagher as well. This is for 7th and 8th positions, and Gallagher holds on for the minute. The queue of cars building up behind him though, with Paul Cook in there, and so is Tim Heron as well. Back on board with Heron we go. Cook's out of shape, he's very sideways, bit of a tank slapper on. Can Tim Heron capitalise that? He's fishing for another position, but no, I think Cook is able to hold on for the moment in that number 26 car. The driver from Stonesfield working his way through the corkscrew, and he is going to complete the lap in 9th place. Cars streaming over the line then here at Anglesey. There is Ralphson, a little bit ragged once again through target. Gallagher behind him, then Farrelly, who finished the opening race of the weekend in 2nd position and was not far off a win either. And a gap back to Paul Cook, who is running in 9th place, and Tim Heron in 10th. Through School, and a sense that Jim Davis is closing that gap now to the race leader Sean Traynor as they go under braking. Only a couple of car lengths in it, and that's a nicer apex there. Oh, that's Paul Cook, I think, getting massively off there at Rocket. First part of Rocket, look at him. Look how far off the circuit he is, spinning around. I think he's just about kept it out of the barrier there, and he's fortunate that there is a heck of a lot of runoff at Rocket. Don't know what happened there. Maybe when he tried to brake, nothing happened, because that's all I can think of with such a big off there. and Paul Cook, who was in 9th place, is going to come through, well, outside the top 20, I think, by the looks of it. Meanwhile, the leaders go through. It does look like we lost Wayne Lewis, didn't we? On that opening lap, with the incident we saw off the start line, you could just see his car parked up around the corner there. He did pick up a fair bit of damage, unfortunately, did Wayne Lewis. So Wayne, who finished the opening race in 20th position, getting no further than the first corner in this one. Race goes on though here with Nigel Ralphson now ahead of Gallagher and Farrelly. Top two closing in once again. Jim Davis learning from his mistakes, and this time it's Traynor that goes in quite deep, but Davis just about follows him actually. Could he have capitalised there? Or maybe. As Farrelly, you can see, kicking up some dust as he tries to find a way through on the inside of William Gallagher. We're watching here from on board with Tim Heron, who gained that place when Paul Cook went off a lap ago. Here comes Jim Davis as they head down towards the corkscrew. Not really a good overtaking opportunity, but he tried to get alongside the race leader Sean Traynor there. Here's Martin Farrelly in 7th place, just behind number 85 Nigel Ralphson. They go through the corkscrew now with Darren Aldworth in that blue and white number 43 car, the driver from Oxford, still going pretty strongly in P5. Davis not yet able to find a way past Traynor in this car that he's borrowed for the weekend from Alex Knight, the absentee second place man in the championship. I suggest that he will be overtaken in quite a lot further down the points after this weekend, not having taken part here, but of course drivers can drop their 2 worst scores at the end of the season. 14 rounds count in this 16 round championship. Stuart Nichols, well, he's not had his best season, I wouldn't say, in the MR2 championship. We're on board with him now. He's still there in 4th place, and he's got some work to do if he's going to catch the top 3 here of Traynor, Davis and Barber. Through the left, then through the right at Rocket. A great challenge to the drivers, this 1.5 mile coastal circuit. Great challenge to Sean Traynor is Jim Davis as well. Jim Davis, the man from Stratford-on-Avon, again tries to overlap going down into the corkscrew, but you more or less have to go single file there. I have seen cars go 2 abreast. Nigel Ralphson's almost acting like a safety car here. Look at the queue of cars he's got behind him. Absolutely spectacular stuff. And the car immediately behind him is that of Martin Farrelly. A bit further back, and we're on board with Tim Heron here. Just that Darren Aldworth has lost a couple of positions and has dropped down to, what's that, 7th place as Tim Heron tries to get a place away from Gallagher here, but can't quite do it. Yeah, Aldworth there in the blue and white car. He was ahead of Ralphson, so he must have made a mistake somewhere out of the sight of our cameras. So this is Farrelly now gunning for the final place in the top 5. Nigel Ralphson, the current incumbent. Those two side by side. Now, let's see if they can go through 2 abreast through the corkscrew. Not really. Ralphson does go wide there, so Farrelly gets his nose back in front, but where's Ralphson by the time they get to the last apex? Well, he's behind Farrelly now. I think he did make a bit of a haulix there for that last couple of corners of the lap. As on to the final lap goes Sean Traynor, who's had very little respite in this race. It is Jim Davis that has provided the threat this time. In race 1, of course, it was Martin Farrelly. Jim Davis came into the championship, or this weekend in the championship, lying about 8th position, I think he was, having missed the opening meeting of the season due to injury. He's had some solid results, including that one, of course, at Campbell Park last time out. On board with Stuart Nichols, and he has bridged that gap to Mark Barber, hasn't he? He's closer than he was a few laps ago to this leading triumvirate. And Jim Davis still pushing on a bit further up the order. Look, less than a car length between them as they head through Peel for the final time. Sean Traynor, who's half Irish, continues to lead though. He's soaking up the pressure from Jim Davis, everything that Jim can throw at him. Through the final corner he goes then, and it's 7th heaven for Sean Traynor Win number 7 for the season in the Millers Oils Toyota MR2 Championship. Second place to Jim Davis, third and fourth over the line in very close proximity as well. And a bit of a gap back to our 5th place finisher, which should be Martin Farrelly. Celebrations though for Sean Traynor. And the winning margin this time was 0.4 of a second. Not much to choose between them. Jim Davis did get the fastest lap though, 1:21.83. Mark Barber completing the podium for the second time today. Stuart Nichols, a much better race for him. He finished 4th. For the back, Darren Aldworth 7th, William Gallic 8th, Tim Heron 9th, and Simon Wallace it was that eventually made up the top 10. Sean Traynor, well, it was a hard race first time around. If anything, that was even tougher.
It was, yeah. I thought first time round was hard. Jim's just made me work my socks right off.
Yeah, I mean, it looked to me as if you'd perhaps got strength at different parts of the circuit. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, Jim was getting the run out of me at onto the back straight here, and I was just holding, thinking if I can just hold the outside line up into Rocket, which I managed to do on probably about 3 or 4 occasions. And yeah, it was hard work, but absolutely chuffed to come over to 2 wins. Couldn't have asked for more. 2
wins is great, isn't it? But, you know, a bit more hard fought than they've been early on in the season, actually.
Oh, yeah. No, it's quite nice, sort of, not, but it is. But like I say, it's nice to go out and have a decent race as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you come for, isn't it? You come to go racing.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Absolutely, it's been brilliant. Absolutely spot on, nice and fair. I think we had a few touches, but I think if at one point Jim was caught on the back end of my car and we were going as a train. But
Jim, second position for you, but it could easily have been a win.
Yeah, I made a couple of silly mistakes up into Rocket. I was saying to Sean that I had grid position and didn't really have to outbrake myself like that. And I'm annoyed because it's something I did last year as well. But it was a brilliant race, and I'm finally feeling like I'm getting towards the front of the grid now. So it's paid off all the hard work. But yeah, I think I made him work for it this time round.
Okay, Mark. So 2 podiums this weekend. That's a really good return, isn't it, from Anglesey?
Yeah, it's a good one. It's been kind of where I've been wanting to be all season, and it's good to be stringing them together. Cadwell went well, and this has just been one step up from that, really. So that's good.
Absolutely, and pretty tight with yourself and Stuart for a lot of that race. He was a constant shadow.
Yeah, he was looking in my mirrors. Every time these guys came back to me, I couldn't quite have the pace to keep up with them entirely, but every time they backed up to me, I backed up to him, and it was just a bit of the old classic accordion kind of going forwards and backwards there. So it kept me honest there, yeah, definitely.
3 more meetings still to go at Silverstone, Snetterton and Donington Park. Join us again soon. Bye bye for now.